Hey, what's up? Welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions and answer them here in video format. If you want your questions to be answered, make sure you're subscribed and notified so you get notified when the question prompt pops up. All right, Matt says this: if the Browns end up with the defensive player of the year and the rookie defensive player of the year, the rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, if so, do we need to give Andrew Berry more credit? He kept Miles on the team and gave him a more completed defense, which has him sitting at 18 sacks with 2 more months left in the season. I've been arguing that Andrew Berry deserves a lot of credit for what he's done. I think he handled the offseason well, right? I was very critical of Andrew Berry going into this offseason. I was saying that offseason would be a crossroads to how I judge him going forward, because going into that offseason, he had never had to deal with a situation like Miles before where somebody wanted off the team. I mean, a little bit with David Njoku, but Miles is a different beast, right? He's a different level of player. He had to deal with officially moving on from the Watson era, and he had to also had the opportunity of having your first full load of draft picks for the first time in 3 years since the Watson trade. Like, it was going to be a real big moment off season for Andrew Berry to show us like who he is as a general manager. And I thought he did all of those things really well at the end of the offseason, and it looks like he did, right? The Myles Garrett extension looks like a good deal at the end of the day. We're not even talking about the fact that he was able to keep Myles on the team, but keep Myles on the team long-term at a number that's cheaper than TJ Watt, at a number that's cheaper than Micah Parsons, at a number that's cheaper. It's going to look like a great deal in a couple of years. It already looks good right now. So there's that part of it with Myles. So he didn't wait to catch up with the market. He got the deal done early and got it done before it became a holdout situation. So again, I think Andrew deserves a ton of credit for that. And yeah, this rookie class is insane. Like, again, you might have the defensive player of the year and the rookie defensive player of the year. How often does that ever happen? And like, these guys they're going to win these awards if the season ends normally for them. That's where they're at. It's insane. Yeah, Andrew Berry's done his job this year, right? My issues with the team, not really related to Andrew Berry as much. Mr. Tidster, can't believe you made me say that one out loud. I like to know what you think of the use of Wildcat in those red zone possessions. It was effective, but I wonder if it's a sign that the coaching staff has concerns about Shador's ability to convert in a condensed field, if they were just trying to take some pressure off his shoulders, or if there's something in their scouting report for the Raiders that would show it would be effective. We got to stop making every little decision and asking if that's about Shador, when odds are it has nothing to do with him, right? We did this with the game ball thing. I've seen this question of Wildcat pops up. The Browns went into Wildcat, which they've been in before with Quincy Judkins, because it's an effective play, right? It gives them a numbers advantage with their best running back, and the Raiders were really bad at stopping it. It was super effective, so they kept going back to it. It's really just football for why they went to Quincy there in the Wildcat. Again, I think we would all be served better if people in the media would stop wondering if every little thing has something to do with Shador. It's like the people are digging for some kind of story here, conspiracy here. It's just not here. The Browns went into Wildcat because Quincy Judkins was really effective in the end zone in Wildcat. And that's really the long and short of it. There's a perfectly reasonable football explanation for it. And it's not like this is the only time they brought out Wildcat in the red zone. They did this with Dylan. They did this with Joe Flacco. It's just, it works. Like, I don't know what else to tell folks. Randy Moy says this: let's say Shador continues to grow and play pretty well and the team gets some wins. and you see them sticking with them and drafting Tate for an example, or if they end up picking around 6 and 10. Well, that's the fun thing for Shedeur. He gets to be a part of that conversation now. If he wins games and the Browns aren't in position to take a quarterback with their natural pick, then Shedeur is going to play himself into more opportunity. You know, we're going to talk more about these questions, but I got to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code Worst Take. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. With this question says this: with the way the schedule is shaping up, what are the odds that Shedeur with this defense plays the Browns out of a top pick for quarterback? Bears have an argument to be the best team remaining on the schedule. 3-3 down the stretch isn't crazy to think about. Let me pull up the Browns schedule right now just to confirm what you're saying. So they got their games with the Ravens out the way. So if we look what it's 49ers, Titans, Bears, Bills, Steelers, at Bengals. How many of these are home games? So the Browns have 4 home games left. They have 2 games on the road, and 2 road games are at Cincinnati, which is going to be week 18. We have no idea what version of Cincinnati is going to play in that game. And at Chicago, I would still say Buffalo's your toughest opponent left. I know Buffalo's been looking a little shaky, but they got Josh Allen, and the other team, the Bears, don't have Josh Allen. They have Caleb Williams, who I think can be good in the future, but hasn't gotten to that point yet. Pittsburgh, I wouldn't say it's an easy schedule down the stretch. I would say, maybe I would expect to win 2. Yeah, 3's fair. 3's fair. But yeah, if the defense is playing well, if Shedeur can provide some offensive firepower, then this team can win games. That's what we've been saying all season, is all they need is an offense. If Shedeur can provide that, we'll see. Right now, all we've seen is Shedeur play against the Raiders, and what we've seen has been positive in that direction. But we also have to remember the Raiders are a great deal worse than most of the teams that they're going to be playing for the rest of the year. Maybe the Titans are just as bad as the Raiders. So, let's just take it week by week. I wouldn't want to get ahead of ourselves, but yeah, there looks like there's going to be some opportunities here for Shedeur. Provider 253 says this: Q, could the plan that was explained to Miles be build the defense up first and then the following year build the offense? It always has been thought of my simple brain. Go Browns. I think the plan for Miles and the Browns' plan for Miles was this: give us 3 years, right? We're going to rebuild this year. We're going to get some picks next year. And then if you're not feeling this by the end of 2027, Miles, we'll move you. I think that was the plan, right? Give us a couple of years to really build this thing. We're moving off the Watson thing. It's been a disaster, but we're going to be a contender by 2027. If we're not, we'll move you. I think that's really what they're thinking is like, when Miles signed that contract with 2025. So yeah, give us to the end of 2027, and they think they'll have something in place to get a quarterback and to be a championship contender. We'll see if that ends up being true, but that's what they probably sold to Miles, right? It wasn't like, oh, this year they're going to be good. They never sold him that, but I bet they were saying, yeah, end of 2027, if we ain't got shit cooking, we'll move you. Something like that. 8457 says this: if the Browns think the Shedeur ceiling is Jalen Hurts, the wild comp, and they are not in position to use their first round pick on a quarterback, would you rather they stick with Sanders and get 2 offensive players in the first round, or package the picks to move up a pick and pick one of the 3 quarterbacks that's in the top of the draft. I know it's early to think about, but if we don't get recency bias, that leads into Freddie Kitchens. So I think there's something to it, right? Recency bias can be a hell of a thing. Here's what I'll say. It really depends on what your internal grade is for these quarterbacks. If you think one of these guys are available and they are once in a lifetime, not once in a lifetime, but you think they are going to be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you're looking at Shedeur and you don't think that's going to be the case, and you feel like a move to get a guy that could be that is within reach, you take it, right? It's not going to make people happy. It's going to generally and genuinely piss people off. No doubt about it. But if you're right and you draft the guy, you get to pick to draft the guy, and that guy becomes a top 5 pick, or not a top 5 pick, a top 5 quarterback, nobody's going to care. In 5 years, nobody's going to care, right? That day, people are going to be pissed. But, if you're right, ain't nobody going to give a fuck. But yeah, that'll be ballsy. But that's really what it's got to come down to. If you think that one of these guys are going to be a solid quarterback and you think Shedeur could be somewhere in Jalen Hurts, it really don't make sense to make that move, right? But we got to get to the end of the season to see where we think these guys in the draft are going to land and where we think Shedeur is going to land in this conversation. So all those things, we got a lot of football to watch before we really have any real answers there. But it's something to consider, right? Because this conversation is not even close to over. Mike Makira? I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. How has Tommy Rees been doing as a play caller? What new things have you noticed with the offense since he's taken over? It's pretty much similar to what it was. I think there's more tempo in the offense. A little bit more variance in a run game, which I appreciate. A little bit less predictable. So I would say it's been better, but it hasn't been like a completely different playbook or anything like that. Mark Irish says this. Do you think Stefanski withheld praise from Shedeur during the locker room speech? Seems like his tone changed for a rookie that just made history. This Shedeur thing can get a little parasocial. This is one of the most parasocial quarterbacks that I have had to cover since the Browns, right? And Baker Mayfield, that thing was pretty parasocial too. Here's what I'll say. As somebody, there have been times in my career online where during a podcast, I get into an argument on a show with one of my podcast co-hosts, and the argument gets pretty heated. And I end the show, or the show ends, we have the argument. Me and the guy that I had the argument with think nothing of it because we know each other in real life, and it's not that big of a deal that we had a disagreement in football about football. But then we check the comment section, and the theories that people come up with to fill in the blanks because it's a parasocial relationship end up being so wrong, it's hard to imagine. Like, I have lived through that experience before, and maybe it makes me more aware. Maybe it makes me more sensitive to when people do this to other people. But there have been so many times, there are often times when people think I have problems with certain people in sports talk that I've either never met or never had a single issue with, because they're like taking something I said and trying to extrapolate it and trying to point it to, like, they're doing the Charlie whiteboard stuff, right? Where they're like, oh, he was talking about this guy. And then now all of a sudden people are telling me I got a beef with somebody that I don't have a beef with. The internet gets parasocial. The internet likes to examine people's facial expressions and try to pull different things out of it. And the internet is fucking terrible at it. So I bring all that up to say, y'all don't know what Kevin thinks of Shador, and we need to stop acting like we do know. I don't think Kevin withheld praise for Shador. He was very complimentary of him for as far as Kevin Stefanski is in the post-game press conference. Kevin hasn't really seemed like he doesn't like Shador. Shador hasn't said anything that would indicate that Kevin doesn't like him. We should just mind our fucking business. You know what I mean? We should just mind our business. This is where it gets a little parasocial, right? People are out here examining, oh, he didn't give him a game ball. He didn't jump and do a cheerlead thing for Shador because he played well in his first game. Like, everybody just needs to calm the fuck down. Okay? It's too parasocial. It's too, people are just getting too caught up in what they think is happening, projecting their own nonsense onto people who ain't got nothing to do with their nonsense. Again, as somebody who has been on the other side of the internet's parasocialness, the internet's willingness to speculate about a situation without all the information, right? Having like my personal friendships and people that I work with, people creating all kind of theories about what's going on with those things, because maybe I didn't like it because I wasn't on a show a week, or because I got in an argument in a week and it got like a little bit more intense than normal. Seeing how wrong the internet is at diagnosing that stuff makes me not listen to the internet when it comes to this kind of stuff. So no, I think people are just doing the weird internet shit with Kevin and Shador right now. And people have convinced themselves that there is some kind of like animosity there between the two. And they're gonna convince themselves that everything's evidence of that. But it's not really, right? Like, I saw somebody freak out because like Kevin didn't immediately run to Shador during the timeout. And then like 2 seconds later, you see on the broadcast that Shador and Kevin were having a conversation at the timeout. Like, people are convinced and they're looking for evidence to prove them right, and not necessarily evidence to see if what they're talking about is actually even happening, because I don't think there is any evidence of it. I think people are just caught up in a narrative there. And it's a parasocial narrative, and parasocial narratives on the internet often wildly wrong. Okay? Wildly wrong. I've experienced it. The internet don't know what the fuck they talking about when it comes to these people's personal lives. All right. Evan says, is it possible that Kevin gave up play calling to be more of a development coach for the rookies, including Shador? I certainly think it is. We ultimately don't know why he took a step back from the play calling responsibilities and why he felt like that was what's best for the offense. But I certainly think that has something to do with it. But I want to thank you guys for asking the questions. You have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.